don't rush being grown. It's overrated. If I had to rate being an adult, if I could go on the internet and write a comment to rate my experience as an adult, I would give it 1 star. My comment would be very bad, would not recommend. I want to be grown? You don't want these problems. Do you know when you become an adult, you do not get to do what you want to do? You do not get to go where you want to go? I think it's a misconception. When I get grown, I can do whatever I want to do. No, you can't. You can do whatever you can afford to do.
And there it is. You can't do what you want to do. You can do what you can afford to do. And typically, if you're, 16, 17, 18, let's say even 19, 20, 21, you could, if you stay with your people, then you might have a car note, maybe $300, insurance, maybe $250 or something like that, and then you probably buy food, little stuff like that, and something like that. But you don't have all the exponential costs. And this gentleman goes further into it and talking about it, but those are the things that I think people aren't thinking about. Like you think, okay, because you work a job, and ain't nothing wrong with working a job. You may work a small time job or whatever. It's you a young person. You try to figure it out and stuff like that. I get that. I understand. But as you working, you like, dang, what? How much money I'm making? So you thinking I'm good, man. I could pay for an apartment. And you just think you work more hours because you won't be at school or whatnot and stuff like that. But it's not that simple. It's not simple because you got to pay other costs outside of that. Let's kind of dive into that. Let me pull this up. Let me see. What we got here. All right. So we already talked about it. We talked about that. Boom. The only cost that you got so far is a car note. Car note for 3. Get a car note for 3. What you got? Insurance, that's $250. And then what else you got? Then you got food, snacking food or whatever. So whatever you get, food, snacks, we'll say $50 for that right now. So that's not that much right now. So that's what he's talking about so far. Let's see what else we talking about. But we ain't even included rent. Hold on, before I even jump into the thing, we ain't said nothing about no rent. I'm gonna change the color for that. Rent, that's a whole nother cost, dog. Electricity, water. Oh yeah, it's getting serious now. I can feel the passion in my voice because this stuff get crazy when you need to take care of other stuff like that. So you got water, electricity. Oh wait, internet. You need internet. Oh shoot, I forgot the cell phone. You need internet. You got a cell phone. You got all that other stuff, and then we're gonna let him throw the numbers in there. But I'm saying that's what we finna say right now. So you got to take care of that stuff. When we thinking about the only basic costs off the job that we got right then and there. And please, you know what I'm saying? People gonna do what they're gonna do at the end of the day, but maintain your relationship with your people. You know what I'm saying? And I know people gonna have a relationship with people, but where you can stay there. Make sure you cool with them. Hey, mom, pops, whatever, whoever, guardian or whatever. Oh yeah, here's my plan, whoop, and stuff like that. So that's what you need to be thinking about right there. But let's jump more into the video. But I just want to throw that out there because he was spitting so much, and I was like, yeah, okay. Let me jump up.
Number one. Number two, especially once you have kids, you do whatever your kids allow you to do. Because that's your first responsibility.
And I'm going to say with the kids part, be mindful of that. Be very mindful of that. People going to do what they're going to do at the end of the day. But kids, they say that kids in daycare for kids, $500 a month, infant all the way up to they 5, 4 or whatever. So times that times 12, that's all that cost right there. And then they say it takes at least 2.5, and I don't know if that's an inflated number, 2.5 million to really raise a child the way you want to put them in the best spot. So let's just keep that in consideration.
Plus, you got to pay for a place to stay. In Arkansas, that's between $900 and $2,000 a month. Getting a car, that's between $300 and $500 a month. Car insurance, that's about $250 a month. We still hadn't got a haircut, hadn't got our hair done, hadn't bought a new pair of shoes, haven't gone out, hadn't had a good time, haven't gone to the comedy show, haven't gone to the basketball game, haven't done any of that. It's overrated. I would advise you to enjoy being a child. Enjoy being a teenager. Why? Why do I say that? Because you have 70 years to be an adult. From age 18 all the way to 88. You live to be 88 years old. That's 70 years that you're going to be an adult. You're only going to be a child for 17 years. I want to encourage you to embrace being a child.
My only pushback on that embrace being a child is you got to put yourself in the best situation possible. Don't waste your time. Don't waste that time where you're a young person from 0 to, and it may sound crazy, I'm saying 0 to 18, not being on your business, and it's really your parents, guardians' responsibility to get you on the right track early on. But at some point, it becomes your responsibility. So 0 to 8, 0 to 10, 12, something like that. Parents' real responsibility, parents' guardian. But then after that, it starts to become your responsibility as a young person. And this is where you need to begin to take education seriously if you haven't already done so. Think about what career you're going into, because this is what is going to change the trajectory of what you do and how much you get paid. You know, and that's really what I want to say. I'm gonna flip back to this two numbers I wrote down. So it's a difference. It's a stark difference if we only worried about these numbers. You know what I'm saying? Because you thinking, okay, I'm working that much. What is that? That's 600. 600. I ain't include electricity and stuff like that. We gonna say we gonna wrap this all up into 100. So we looking at that's gonna be either what 11 or it's gonna be what's that? 220. That's 220. 2200. So it's 2200. That is how much your costs. That is how much your costs get increased. That is how much your costs get increased based off you living in a different situation. Alright. That's how much it get changed, increased. Versus only being a minimal 600 until they're going to that higher figure. So you know quadrupled your costs. You know already quadrupled your costs. But let me roll into the next video I want to bring up, because in the next video the gentleman really begins to talk about some stuff, and I really like this guy, Aristotle. He talks about investing. I like him. I like Wall Street Trapper. They're pretty good. Respectfully, the only thing I don't like about Aristotle is I think he talked too much about he does more it's more he does more trading. I don't believe in trading. I believe in investing long hold, because I feel like there's more benefits, even though it depends on how you do the trade. But I don't agree with trading. I'm more of a hold guy. So I was saying I just want to keep that in consideration. But I'm gonna let him play on this and let him say his piece, and then we're gonna kind of move on.
When I was in the Army, dudes could not understand how I always had a lot of money. At one point in time, I just said, fuck it. I'm going to stop buying J's, stop eating out. I'm going to stop all subscriptions, because I think the building had free Wi-Fi. But I was using my phone data. So all I had was a cell phone bill, car note, and insurance. I only had 3 bills. And then only thing I would buy is like vitamins and water. Didn't want to drink sink water. So I would...
And he just really goes in and he starts talking about how his whole focus was stacking. And this is what I like about him, and this is what ties into what the other gentleman was talking about before. You gotta roll into how are you gonna make the money. So one thing I didn't get a chance to say about Aristotle is like I listened to some of his other stuff, and like because I like to do autobiographies on people. And one of the things that he did was he went into the military, and so but how he did well in the military is he got a great score on his test. But what he did was he read a book. He read the book ASVAB for Dummies, and so that was kind of like key to him, and it helped him get a good position in the military and stuff like that. And we didn't even talk about all the military benefits, but that was another thing that he had. But what that led him, that gave him a gleam to say like, all right, boom, if I did that, now I could read a book on investing. And that's what he did. He read a book on investing, and that opened up his mind. So that's what made him think about stacking. He got another trade. Instead of going out, he was cutting people's hair and stuff like that. He didn't spend money on J's. He wasn't playing video games anymore. He gave up all that stuff, and people would be like, "Hey man, you gonna go out? Come on with us," and stuff like that. And just like when everybody was in school and stuff like that, the people can feed you. Like if they like you get a free lunch, like military, you get free lunch, college, you get free lunch or whatever, and you don't have to pay for it. So then you utilize that. And then you minimize everything that you do, and then that's how you start to cut costs. So you really live under your income, and that's the change, because then that delta, that difference between how much money you make, and if you're making extra money from like cutting hair and stuff like that, and then you're also spending low money, like he said, he spent like $250, and that kind of goes back to what we was talking about before. So if you got rent and bills and car note and stuff like that, because all that stuff's all included, and all you're doing is spending a little bit of money on those different items. So you just spending on like, okay, so my bills is like $250. I don't even think my man said I got a car. And if you did, he'd get a cash car. So then if you get a cash car, guess what? That eliminates that car. You pay $5,000 for the car up front, and then all you gotta do is pay for insurance, and then food and snack, and then he was paying for that. He didn't pay for that, and then he paid for the cell phone, and that was it. So that's what he did. I don't even think if you don't have a car, you don't have insurance. But yeah, I think that's what he just said. So that's just something to think about as we're trying to figure out like what can we do to eliminate different things. Now I'm gonna kind of pull up this clip right here, and this is where I kind of mentioned about Warren Buffett. This is Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. So you can see it. Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. These are two of the biggest people who are investment. Charlie Munger just died, maybe probably about 3-5 years ago or something like that. But they were partners for a long time in business. Buffett is still alive. He's called the Omaha Oracle or whatever. Great guy in Nebraska, and he just does really well with investing. And one of the things that he did was he was reading books like Aristotle was talking about, reading books on business and things like that, and that really made a change on what he could do successfully, and what he could do successfully. So that's how he's taking those different things, those different items, and putting them up there and make them beneficial for him. Okay, this is the Warren Buffett formula that I was talking about, in how he has his basic approach in his investment philosophy. So basically, it's built on value, seeking investments in undervalued companies, whereas fundamentals focus on extrinsic value, ensuring that his investments have long-term potential. And his margin of safety approaches and minimizes risk, while he focuses on economic moats to protect the businesses from competitors. Buffett trusts quality management in investing in firms with ethical leadership. His simplicity guides as he invests in business, and this stems all from patient discipline and an unwavering commitment to integrity. That's in a nutshell his whole focus of how he does different things. And that's why I want to show you all this, as he goes through the process of trying to say what he's going to do and how he's going to operate within his business. And then, and that's why I want to show y'all this one too, right here, where he kind of goes into it, and I won't be long on this part, but this is where you think about, okay, investments and how they're going to go and what you're thinking in that process of it.
Investment. What do you need to know? I need to know that I think that Berkshire Hathaway is going to be worth more money.
And Berkshire Hathaway is his company.
Let's pretend there is no stock market. Let's say I had to buy these privately, like you buy a farm privately, like you buy an apartment house privately. They're investments. So you're looking to say, what can I do with money I've saved to put it away so I feel good about getting it back later under any circumstances, but not necessarily on a given moment. All I'm trying to do is buy businesses.
So he looks at them not as stock tickers, but actually as businesses that he's investing in. That's the difference between him and other people.
When you were just beginning your career, what sort of things do you think were made a big impact in your success? What habits did you develop, and kind of what sort of things could you pass on to us as younger people?
Have the right heroes. I mean, I've always been lucky in that respect. And if the people you look up to are going to form your vision of what the world, how you want to be in later life. And I'll give you two pieces of advice. I'd invest as much in myself as you can. I mean, you're your own biggest asset by far.
And that is critical. You are your own biggest asset. That is probably one of the first things you got to understand and know. When you do that, you'll move accordingly. And that's what he really wants you to get and understand.
I mean, you've got all kinds of potential. All the people in this room, you're lucky to be in this country, gotten a good education.
And that's just talking about him in that room, but this goes across the board for whoever you are in the world. You're getting information placed before you. I'm breaking it down in such a way so you can understand, how can I put this to move in a way that's beneficial to me? We just talked about in this previous video we also talked about here where we're thinking about how can we cut the cost. And now, mind you, the one thing that he talked about is, he said, so we ain't talking about, let's see if I can get over here. We ain't talking about haircuts. We ain't talking about haircuts. We ain't talking about getting your hair done for the ladies. So, the different hairdos cost a little bit of money and stuff like that. And then shoes. And then we ain't gotta go out and eat, and then have a good time, whatever that might be. Some people like to do different things. So whatever that thing is, whatever it costs, then you ain't went to the comedy show, you ain't did that, you haven't went to the basketball game. These are all other costs. And that's why I like what they were saying, because they were saying, live beneath your means, think about it, and then try to keep your costs. So if you stay with your people, a lot of these costs are eliminated. These costs are eliminated. Stay with your people. Like, they might ask you to pay rent and stuff like that. Maybe they don't, but it might be at a lesser price than what it is. But then some people be like, man, I want to give them my peace. I want to be able to have my own space. So that's you got to get cut somewhere. So maybe get a roommate. You have different options and things that you can do. But those are things you have to take in consideration. I mean, some stuff, you're going to have some costs. Like, you're going to have a cell phone or something like that. But all the other costs you can kind of get rid of too.
But most people go through life using up a very, very small part of their potential. And so anything you do that invests in yourself, that's the best investment you can possibly make. And then I would follow my passion.
When you were just...
And he was saying, follow your passion. I believe following your passion tied in a little bit with your strengths and also areas that you want to focus on and stuff like that. Strengths, areas you want to focus on that might that you know can earn a decent wage and things like that, and that's how you exponentially do that. So, and that's when we come back to this. So now, if I tie in here, you working today, boy, but I tie in here. So now, if I use a different color. So now, if I say now, so if I have you working one job, so let's say you working one job, you get paid $16 to $18 an hour. Okay, so that we can increase that cost. That's kind of a low cost. But if I get you at a young age, getting paid $25 to $27 an hour, or even going higher than that, and you're keeping your costs down, so that means you don't have these things. You're keeping your costs down. You're being wise on how you do this. You might cut out a lot of that things. You know what I'm saying? And that's what Aristotle was talking about. And then so you might have a cell phone, and then what else? You might buy food here and there. So a lot of the stuff is eliminated depending on your situation. So that kind of depends on how you're moving this, and that's what I really want you to begin to think about. How's the situation going, what you're doing, and how you're moving. All right, and this is one more thing that he talks about, and we're almost at the close, but I wanted to say that
if you were 30,
that they were talking about whether the instance that I used before, where I was breaking down Warren Buffett style, was more on how you spent your money if you really wanted to get involved in it, whatnot, in investment, which I think investments is the best way to go. But then this is the other way, where if you're not so much and you don't want to really get involved in investing that much, but you want to do it, but you're not gonna spend a lot of energy and time doing it, which I completely disagree with. But people will do what they do. This is what they were kind of talking about, how you would best approach it.
years old.
And these are people who made billions. He was like the first person to crack $1 billion. What, when he was 50, 52, 50, something like that?
Again, how would you invest, assuming you're not a full-time investor, you have another full-time job, no dependents?
I'll be very simple. I'd probably have it all in a very low-cost index fund. Might be Vanguard. Somebody I knew was reliable. Somebody where the cost was low. If you postulated that you're not going to become a professional investor, I would recognize the fact that I'm an amateur investor. I would feel that that was going to outperform bonds under current conditions over a long period of time, and then I'd forget it and go back to work. You will not get that advice from anybody because nobody gets paid to give you that advice.
And that right there is key. You won't get that advice because nobody is paid to give you that advice. And that's what I'm saying. The information is all over the internet, but can you piece it together to put yourself in the best situation so you can move in the direction you want to move? All right. A clip or two left. All right. So here, and the reason why, and you guys might be like, oh, why is this dude talking about Warren Buffett? I'm just saying, this is probably the easiest, simplest way to get invested. He talks about it. You could do it with a 401k at the job that you work. You could do it that way. You could get invested with your own brokerage account and different things like that. But if you don't even know that's a move that you can do, then how can you do it? It's like you don't know that you could do a crossover. You just straight dribble one arm all the way down. You don't cross over, you don't switch to the left hand, you don't switch to the right, you don't do none of that stuff. You don't try to pull up a jumper, you just dribble one hand all the way down. Then that means you're going to be predictable and people can see what you're going to do. Versus he's talking about different things that some people may not be prelude to, and that's why I'm trying to open up your eyes to that.
$1 now. The best single thing you could have done on March 11th, 1942, when I bought my first stock, was just buy an index fund and never look at a headline, never think about stocks anymore, just like you would do if you bought a farm. You just buy the farm and let the tenant farmer run it for you. And I pointed out that if you put $10,000 in an index fund that reinvested dividends, and I paused for a moment to let the audience try and guess how much it would amount to, and it would come to $51 million now.
And because he was talking about earlier, and I believe the clip showed it, but he was saying how you invest $10,000 in, and the question is, do you have $10,000? You may not have $10,000, but you can get to that point where you have that if you're investing in different things, if you're stacking your money, and that's what Aristotle was talking about. You stacking your money so you can get to those different points, so you can do those different things. And that's kind of, I'm gonna talk about Matthew McConaughey. I just got one kind of short part I want to say about him, but yeah, it's really moving yourself in the best situation possible. Now with Matthew McConaughey in here, in this scene, I'm gonna let it play.
We're not going to ground you because I'll be taking away your time, and your time is the most valuable thing you got. So take your licks. You're not going to get injured. It's going to hurt, and don't yell.
And I think that is probably that small part. I think is kind of one of the most important parts. Your time is your most valuable asset. He wasn't grounded when he was a kid because his parents believed that your time is your most valuable asset, so they didn't ground him. He was like, no, we're going to ground you with your time is your most valuable asset. But I'll have a link in the description of all these different videos. But I just want to show that. And here's my last one. Excuse me. Here's my last one that I'm going to show. This gentleman did a great job right here talking about it.
But here's how the magic actually happened. All you have to do to get to $8 million is invest $300 per month for the next 65 years.
Now stop, because I know all you're saying, I got to invest $300 for the next 65 years. And this is where we're talking about how your investments can work for you or against you. Let me pull this up. This is probably the most important part right here. So you could either have your investments working for you, putting money. This is you putting $300 to invest, or the opposite thing that you could do is, oh, I want to splurge, I want to spend money, I want to buy stuff. So that's negative money. This is money coming out your account. $300 because I got a car note, or then I want to buy some clothes and stuff like that. You're going to spend the money. Why not spend the money where it's going to make money for you later on, instead of spend the money so that so that you have to pay it off. And then here's the thing, you're paying triple the price. You're paying triple the price for the car, for the clothes. So clothes that really should be, and we're not even talking about the core value of how much the clothes should really be, since the clothes really cost $10 to make, but you're going to pay $20, $25, $30, $40 above that. And then we're not even talking about that, but we're even adding on top of that cost is because you put it on a credit card, or you did it a different way, and so now you're paying the interest on that, and that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about the interest that you're paying on that. So that is what makes a difference in that situation. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that maybe you're using cash for it, but then if you're not using your cash in different places, that means you're losing money in places that you can spend cash instead of doing something else with it. But that's just something to think about. But let me let this still play out.
Assuming the stock market does what it's done in the last century, which is return 10.5% or 8.5% when factoring inflation, you'd end up with $8.4 million. Now, out of that
That's $8.4 million, all based off because how you moving just with the information that you had beforehand. That's really all I have for you. I just thought that stuff was profound, and I wanted to make sure that I got it to you in the most simplistic, easiest, and most effective way I possibly could think of. Hope that helps, and I wish y'all well. All right, see y'all next video.